So the sum rule for derivatives says that the derivative of a sum of functions is the sum of the derivatives of each of those functions. And I want to sort of work that formula out with you. Now, somehow this should not surprise you when you realize that derivatives are given in terms of limits, and we know that limits have this property, but let's see if we can actually work it out. So here's the notation that we're going to use. This kind of helps figure it out. So we're going to let big F be the sum of our functions, and our goal is to compute big F prime. If big F is little f plus little g, then what we need to show is that big F prime is little f prime plus little g prime. And so let's write down the definition of big F prime using limits. And so here we go. So we know that big F prime is, see if you can do this yourself. Pause the video for a minute. This is the limit as h goes to 0 of big F of x plus h minus big F of x all over h. And this is the limit as h goes to 0. Now we can write down what big F even is, right here. So you're going to get little f of x plus h plus little g of x plus h minus f of x minus g of x. Now, really it's minus f plus g. I went ahead and pushed the negative through, but whatever you do, don't just drop the parentheses. I didn't write them because I pushed the negative all the way through. Okay, so that's all going to be over h. So now we want to use the sum rule for limits to break this thing up into two limits. And so somehow you need to be able to group the f's and then group the g's. And so I'm going to write this like this. I can say this limit is equal to the limit as h goes to 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x plus g of x plus h minus g of x all over h. And now I can say that this is exactly the limit as h goes to 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h plus the limit as h goes to 0 of g of x plus h minus g of x all over h. And I recognize this is exactly f prime and this is g prime, and so I get out immediately f prime of x plus g prime of x. Okay, and so the point is, we've just shown, we'll say therefore, the derivative of f of x plus g of x is exactly f prime of x plus g prime of x, and we've shown that. Very good. So let's go ahead and do another rule, and then we will practice at the end how to use some of these rules.